The story starts in glory with all the warriors getting ready to go into war, yet with all that glory, the stories center around the MC Bomb, who happens to suffer from an untreatable illness called Simp Syndrome. Yet this virgin energy is the key to his luck as he opens a gate to the Tower of God, where his bae went. Bomb suddenly finds himself on the first floor of the tower with its caretaker Hedon. Hedon, looking like a rabid dog, explains that all who wish to climb the tower must pass through a series of tests from each floor, with the first being to reach and break a ball behind a giant white steel-covered eel, something a normal human would not bother with, but since our boy has no peaches, he has to follow the one. Before he can enter the cage, however, a girl named Yuri comes flying in, with a head kick stopping Bomb in his track. Along with Thigh Tights Lady is her companion, Avon, who gives him an orb called Pocket. This ball holds information about the tower, represent the holder lifeline, can switch between visible and invisible, as well as allowing participants to understand the tower's language. The chick then gets all close and personal with our boy, stating, "I know you are an irregular, a person who came from outside the tower by opening the gate on his own," which seems to be the least of the royal family's problems. But since the princess saw our boy kinda cute, Yuri lends Bomb a powerful sword known as Black March that can be dull or extremely sharp depending on the user, expressing curiosity in him despite knowing that her actions might incur the wrath of the higher-ups. Bomb, now inside the aquarium with the shark Digimon, deciphers the true nature of the test, conquer the fear of death, and lets himself be eaten to cut it up from the inside. However, the true test was to break the ball inside. As Bomb tries over and over, the Digimon regains consciousness. So Avon from the side offers to request power from the sword. A woman appears from the sword stating that she will give him her power, allowing Bomb to break the ball and be transported to the next floor. To retrieve her sword, which made it clear that it has no interest in women, Yuri goes after him. On the second floor, Bomb is greeted by 399 other floor contestants, with the next test being a killing match to reduce the number down to 200. The Hunger Games begin, and funny enough, the guy who was going to put Bomb down gets hit by an arrow, who in turn gets shot by a sniper, who in turn gets manhandled by a walking, talking alligator that only seems to be interested in hunting warriors with legendary weapons. Bomb recalls how he was an amnesiac and all alone in a dark cave until Rachel came and took care of him, including teaching him about the world and how to be literate. While teaching him to protect her like a good doggo, she even pats his head while in sit mode. Back to the second floor where the action is, as we see Bomb confronting two other contestants, Kun and Rock. Both recognize the Black March due to a symbol on its hilt, which interests Kun greatly, so he goes back to secure Boy Wonder in his ranks after losing Rock. Meanwhile, a green girl with a whip sword comes face to face with a cool boy wielding two swords. He throws one at the girl and then takes a sick fighting stance to meet the girl on the ground. Witnessing this glorious fight is Shibisu, mentioning how they are totally ignoring his yee-yee-ass haircut. While Rock is still hunting Bomb, determined to become stronger by defeating him and taking his weapon, the boys come to a mutual understanding and form an alliance. Suddenly, Rock appears from behind ready to get all physical, but to their luck, the announcer tells the remaining constant the Hunger Games have ended, and they need to form a team of 3. Hence, the boys jump on that alligator as if it's an episode of Crocs Down Under, roping Rock in at the last second of his fight and taming him to their side, which arguably would make the great late Steve Irwin proud. Now on the mothership, we see all the other teams that made it to the next stage, and the test administrator and ranker Lero, which climbed the tower before, appears challenging them to pass through his water barrier, which is formed using the tower's power known as Shinsu. All personnel is pushed back by the Shinsu, all but Bomb, who remains standing next to the ranker, and even though they all brush it off as good luck, Kun and Lero seem to be impressed. That said, he decides to sit with Bomb and chit-chat a bit, and of course the simp asks whether Blondie saw his queen, to which he answers, no. When the test ends with a good chunk of the teams passing, Lero leaves, warning Bomb not to get too close to Kun. The victors are taken to another room for the third test. As the groups filter in, a mysterious blonde figure recognizes Kun. Turns out, our boy Kun also had his fair share of no peaches syndrome. You see, Kun's family is one of the 10 greatest families, however, he is one of the defected sons, meaning he was driven out of his family, which understandably caused him some serious trust issues. And thus, here we are starting back from the bottom in the new venue, where Kun explains to a wonderstruck Bomb that the sky here is an imitation created by Shinsu, as the real sky was somehow destroyed long ago. The history lesson gets cut short when they hear the screams of contestants that went ahead for the next phase. While thinking about what the test might be, a wild balloon comes from nowhere to give them a hint. Although Bomb thanks him, Kun brushes him off, so the balloon claps back with, as expected, from the abandoned son of the exiled family. Something that triggered the calm and calculated come to the point of jumping the balloon with his sharp knife, ready to pop that airbag. To the balloon's luck, Team Bomb turn is up. Upon entering the area, they notice a big clock deducing that the test might be related to time, just like the balloon said. The director of the test, Han Sung, greets them and informs that their challenge is to find the right door out of 12 identical ones within 10 minutes, given only one chance. And if time runs out, they be forcefully terminated. Although Khun tries to think, he is inadvertently haunted by his past of being betrayed by his half-sister Maria after she was chosen to become one of the elite girls, a princess of Jahad, through his help, thereby exiling the Aguero family as well. His mother also warned him since then to never trust anyone and closed his heart off. As Khun has his mental breakdown, Rak pushes open a random door out of instinct, and just when Khun thinks all is lost, Han Sung reveals the hidden condition to pass was to open any door within 5 minutes. Khun states the test is pointless, so the admin tells him, "Did your dear princess hurt you that deeply? Since you've been hurt, you only do things out of sheer certainty. But the world won't wait for that, so you need allies that open doors without second guessing. Furthermore, don't you just want to protect those innocent eyes that know no doubt?" Soon after, the rest of the team make it, including Team Shibisu, seem both glad and let down that their leader figured the answer out. Now resting in the cafeteria, our boy interacts with Deadpool and congrats him on passing, mentioning how he relates to him since both are quote-unquote regular guys with some luck. The team bonding gets cut when Lero administers a bonus test where participation is voluntary, but all who pass it would be automatically granted permission to climb the tower. The test involves 5 rounds where a maximum of 5 teams attempt to steal a crown and remain on the throne for as long as possible, with 2 other members of the team acting as a defense. As the first round begins, Bomb feels Black March react strangely when the green girl goes to work with her sword that does all types of wacky shit, ending the round with her sitting on the throne with a crown on her head to Shibisu protest. However, the admin reminds them that if she leaves the throne, the team will be disqualified. In other words, Deadpool Lee now has to fight side by side with the sword master. As the second round begins, Khun deduces that the one sitting on the throne is always at a disadvantage as more and more teams fight for the crown. However, he declines to participate just yet as Anak Jahad, aka the lizard-like girl, possesses immense power. That said, a team made up of 2 NPCs and 1 cool guy fights the sword master, who seems to easily take them alone. Meanwhile, Shibisu is fighting with his bare fists against a wild lady and a horned man. And surprisingly, he was doing well for himself, till he was caught off guard while overanalyzing why their third teammate is not with them. Luckily, the comedic relief character got saved by his homie, for which he is thankful too. Incidentally, that was all part of their sleepy teammate's plan, Laura, who fires a water beam at the girl, making her angry to the point she unleashes her weapon power, overwhelming the guy with the flying blanket, a blanket that, by the way, other than looking mystical, it looks very comfy. However, it seems no one is interested in it but more interested in Bomb's sword, so as Laura's team flood back into their waiting room, Anak leaves the throne and trespasses to Bomb's waiting room. Turns out Anak's sword is called Green April, which is part of a series of ignition weapon swords known as the 13-month series, which includes Black March. This series of swords is so powerful, it is only bestowed upon the princesses of Jahad, including Yuri and Anak, who asked Bomb to hand it over. Anak makes a bet with Bomb. If his team can win the game, she will give him her sword, but if not, he will give his to her. And if he refuses to participate, she will kill him and steal the sword after the game. The team members take on the bet due to their pride, something Anak didn't expect, so when she raised her sword to put an end to the game, luckily she gets stopped by the admin after getting disqualified from the game due to breaking the rules. And with the powerhouse of a team getting out of the way, Khun finally decides to join in the fun, pulling a series of tricks. He first dashes to the throne and secures the crown, puts it in his trusty bag, defends the throne a little, and then throws the crown like a piece of bone for the hungry dogs to fight over it, only to be revealed that it was a fake and the real one is on Bomb's head. Seeing this, a mysterious and ruthless team prepares to enter the game, including Rakshal, who agrees to kill everyone. Meanwhile, in the other meeting room, Shibisu explains what Khun did, showing that aside from being a con man and a certified comic relief, he is also a smart individual that is as quiet as the blue-haired man, who makes countless copies of the crown, mocking the other participants. But what was funny is that the smallest participant was the most offended and most aggressive, ordering others to attack. That said, before lackeys could do anything, they were jumped from behind. Turns out, while the little squirrel was being loud, Khun released 3 other participants that he had allied with during the second round from his bottomless bag. The next round proceeds with the mysterious team entering the game. One chick goes to fight a baddie wearing a latex suit, while her teammates protect the throne. The catfight was intense and fierce, so it was such a shame to see it end because the brunette's heel broke, allowing the baddie to rush for the throne. When she attacks the hooded girl, Bomb recognizes her to be Rakshal, so he jumps to protect the queen, resulting in him being badly struck on the head and falling to the floor. As Bomb vows to protect her, a strange explosion of Shinsu erupts for a second. It seemed as if Bomb had turned into Shinsu itself and willingly attacked the player. Then the time froze for everyone except Bomb, who was standing over the baddie ready to execute her. Luckily, though, the hottie and the sword appeared and stopped the main man from making a mistake that he would regret later. After all is said and done, we learn from the admin's talk that these abilities and actions are something that goes against the unbiased and absolute rules of the tower. However, the head admin seems to have something up his sleeve, especially when he did not bother to look into the incident, ordered Lero to let things continue normally, and rule the crown game as a game with no victor. Now regarding the MC, due to his serious head injury, Bomb is admitted to the infirmary, where Rachel later visits him and also meets Khun to ask him for a favor. And after talking to Queen Bee, Khun picks on the feeling that she is a selfish chick who would have no problem doing what's best for her, just like his beloved half-sister. So he decides to distance the both of them, fulfilling Rachel's requests in the process. But enough of heartless BH. Back to the main man. It has been 5 days since the crown game and Bomb going unconscious. When Rock tries to check up on him, Khun sees him and invites the big lug into the room. Not wanting to look that cares for him, the sweet alligator pulls its tsundere move. Meanwhile, after acquiring the Black March, Anak heads to her team meeting room where she asks Shibisu to talk with the sword as it refuses to listen to women, and funny enough, she also refuses to talk with Shi since the maiden in the sword only talks to attractive men, breaking our lord's heart. Back in the Clink room, after Bomb reawakens, Khun tells him about how Lero assigned them all positions in their teams to start the 4th test. Fisherman, close quarter combat, Spear Bearer, attacking from distance, Lighthouse Bearer, illuminating the tower and information gathering, Scout, observe the enemy's movement and assist the Fisherman, and Wave Controller, support and control the battle with Shinsu. Bomb receives the Wave Controller position, a position that utilizes Shinsu to support team members. For Shinsu to be used above limits, contracts must be formed with the 4 masters using their pockets. But Bomb is warned by the 4 bearers, who seem to be a giant talking legendary monster, that receiving the contract will only shackle him. Therefore, when he finishes the contract, Bomb appears to be fatigued unlike the others in the class, so Ho offers help to the main man, saying friends help each other, something the sleepyhead questions on their way back to their rooms, which Ho brushes it off as he was simply helping the weak, a sentence unbelievable to hear, especially after he collapsed from fatigue in his room. During mealtimes, Bomb meets Endorsi Jahad, a princess of Jahad in her own right who labels Anak as an imposter. Consequently, it is also explained that the princesses are not related by blood. The only thing that relates them to each other is the Jahad title, which is bestowed on powerful special girls chosen by the king. Furthermore, Khun later finds out that even though Anak was supposedly made a princess of Jahad after climbing the tower, she is currently passing the tower's tests and records claim her to be deceased. The scene then cuts to an enraged Anak jumping Endorsi at the next exam. Enda asks Shorty who she really is, as she never saw her before entering the test. Thus, Anak reveals she is the daughter of a previous princess who was killed by the other princesses, prompting her to enter the tower for revenge. But before the blood is shed, here's a fast backstory about what happened in the past. Jahad is the first man to have ever climbed the tower, become the king of all who lives in it today, and as said earlier, he chooses girls from powerful families and gives them the title as well enhances their powers. Endorsi likens the princesses of Jahad to luxurious shoes in a display cabinet. Once they are granted Jahad's power, they are forbidden to do certain things such as engaging in intercourse and bearing children to prevent the inheritance of Jahad's power. Naturally, Anak is against that rule, deeming it unjust, while Endorsi stands by thankful for the power she was granted after all the hardships she went through to acquire it. As their fists clash and their ideologies collide, Endorsi's heel breaks yet again mid-fight, causing her to slip. Endorsi manages to grab Anak's leg, causing both girls to fall into a pit and end up injured. Yet with all the bruises, the girls still bicker between themselves as if they were a dysfunctional family, but a family nonetheless. Endorsi reveals that Anak's mom was nice to her when she joined the princesses, which is somewhat of a sign that Endorsi might come into terms with her hot-headed niece. Upon hearing what happened with the princesses, Khun comes up with a plan to get their signature for Shibisu's test of making 10 friends, and the plan works because who could say no to tasty food? Now in the final placement test, all but Rock and Ghost, who have already passed, are required to play a game of tag in a separate building while they split into Team A and B respectively, with each team's members required to help their own IT steal a badge from the other team's IT or reach the goal. Team A consists of Khun and most of the relevant characters except for Bomb, Rachel, as well as the princess. And since this is a show about surviving, it only makes sense that the team who manages to succeed the members get boosted for the next stage, making it hard for the other team because the next test only has a limited number of participants. That said, it seems impossible to win against a ranker who is easily tearing apart all the regulars. However, turns out it was all part of Khun's plan. By using the guy's short temper and ego, he calculated that the guy will give them some time to run before shitting all over them, just for laughs and giggles. You see, Khun's strategy was to delay Quant long enough so that Anak, their secret it, can make it out the bridge and pass the test. When Quant reaches the bridge, he finds Khun instead of Anak. Khun lies that Anak jumped off the bridge, but in reality, she is safely floating on the lighthouse under the bridge, which Quant figures out. Quant jumps down the bridge, forcing Khun with him in an attempt to get his lighthouse to fall, but Khun is saved by Anak using the green April as a vine rope, securing the win, or so everyone thought. A voice offered help to the redhead, who eventually waited for Anak at the door to take the badge. Later, as revealed down the bridge, Quant was approached by Khun and Laura, who offer him a ride up the bridge to steal Anak's badge. The reason behind the betrayal is so that his friends, especially Bomb, on Team B could pass the test, and some of the people whom he cares for on Team A are already guaranteed a position in the next round. Now with Team A losing the game, Team B enters next. Unlike Team A, who established their roles clearly and quickly, Team B fights among themselves over who will be it. Endorser herself declares she will be it and the team leader, ordering all the regulars to stick together and face the ranker, as there is no way they could capture him. Among them is Serena, who gives us a glimpse of her past life as a burglar. She was quite good, but one night, at what is supposed to be an easy job, she and her team were trapped on board a ship, where she watched her friends getting killed by a ranker. She was saved by the Guardian of the Floor, who offered her a way out by becoming a regular, and since then, all she wishes is for everyone to succeed and come out alive. However, Ho shows his true face, telling her, "Who the frick you think we are? This is a competition. I don't care who makes it or not as long as I do," shocking the lady who always perceived him to be a nice guy. Proving once again, you should never trust a guy who claims to be nice or wants what's best for you. Well, unless they were a certified hardcore simp just like Bomb, but even then, don't fully trust. You only trust in Little Willie. He will always be there when the day ends. And with a life lesson out of the way, let's continue. Quant catches up with Endorsi and her team as she seems to turn against her team as well. Endorsi reveals that she intends to kill the other two fishermen on Team B to assure she passes the test. As usual, time for a backstory. When Endorsi was little, she got adopted by a family that used to adopt as much girls as possible to ensure one of them become a princess of jihad. They started training from a young age. The girls that didn't do good were only handed a piece of bread harder than a brick, while others dying like queens, so she got rid of the competition, assuring her success. And now she is doing the same to continue the journey along with her newfound niece. Therefore, she kinda relates to Bomb and his urge to climb with another person, so she tells him to run away till the exam ends, but the man refuses and shields her from a fire attack that somehow doesn't kill him. Endorsi asks him why he's trying so hard for a girl that doesn't want anything to do with him, but her words fall on deaf ears when he sees his beloved lifeline disappeared, so he runs to Rachel's location, but he finds Quant face to face with Ho, who is holding Rachel hostage at knife point. Ho tells Bomb that he will lose motivation to climb the tower if he kills Rachel, as he gets uncovered by an anonymous letter, giving him leverage in passing the test. Rachel tries to break free from Ho's hold, and he accidentally stabs her in the back. To Quant's amazement, Bomb copies a Shinsu technique that took the redhead hundreds of years to master. The technique is used to paralyze enemies by injecting their bodies with Shinsu, enabling him to recover Rachel, who is now bleeding badly. Ho, realizing he was set up and grieving in how he is once again powerless, remembering how his reason for entering the inner tower was that his entire race was murdered as he watched helplessly, takes the knife and stabs himself through the chest, killing himself. Serena and Endorsi arrive at the scene, and Endorsi uses a weapon taken by one of the fishermen she presumably killed to attack Quant. Determined to finish the test fast and save his girl, Bomb helps Endorsi recover Quant's badge and Team B wins. Soon after, Ho's corpse and Rachel are taken to emergency care. Meanwhile, the gang is in the cafeteria with Rock, who is telling them that his rival has disappeared all of a sudden, but Khun is not interested and leaves to his room and reflects on what happened. Rock soon follows, but instead of looking like a mountain, he looked like the dinosaur Digimon before evolving. The director devolved him because Rock was acting big and tough. Soon after, Bomb arrives at the room and reveals to the boys that Rachel may never walk again after her injury, and that he will make it his mission to push Rachel to the top of the tower. Later, Bomb invites his peers to a small funeral set up for Ho, and they have a remembrance party for him later that night. Knowing she won't pass the latest test and feeling that her purpose isn't there, Serena leaves the inner tower and gives Shibisu her knife as a parting gift. Test director Hansung runs into Wave Controller teacher Yuga holding a secret call, who reveals that his true identity is Lo Po Ren, a member of the Royal Enforcement Division. He's on a mission to retrieve the Green April and possibly destroy the false princess, the second Anak Jahad. Thus, he summons a snake to get rid of the director, but the blonde man has a bigger snake asserting dominance on the little cloud man. Hansung unexpectedly allows Ren to pursue his mission. The next morning, the participants learn of their overall test results and whether they passed or not. Hansung announces that since Rachel was injured in the last test, she has failed. In an attempt to save her status, Kun asks for permission to take the administrator's test. Hansung reminds him that only irregulars have the power to consult with the administrator, aka the Floor Guardian, in which Bomb notifies him that he is an irregular. This revelation surprises many of the participants, even his boy Kun. Bomb is then taken to the administrator to speak with him. After consulting with the administrator whom he met before during the contract, Bomb succeeds in getting permission to take the administrator's test. If he passes, then Rachel will move on. For the test, Bomb and Rachel are placed into an underwater Shinsu ball along with fish. The director explains to the lads that the couple must be captured by net dolphins and eaten by their queen to pass. The remaining participants must stop the net dolphins' enemies, the goblins, who control marshworms and strike ground pigs, from interfering with the net dolphins. They must also watch out for the bull, a mysterious and dangerous creature that eats almost anything that moves. Funny enough, Shibisu ends up the one running into it first after receiving a warning from Hats that the two participants who were with him have gone missing. And what is funnier was the fact the bloodthirsty bull originally ignored the man, making him feel a bit down. So Shibisu jumps on its back with a knife, catching its attention and wrath. Luckily for him, he gets saved by Anak and Endorsi, who arrive just in the nick of time before he gets eaten. The two start competing and betting against each other to see who will defeat the bull first. The bull gets its ass handed by Endorsi, who seems to be handling it quite fine without breaking a sweat. However, it then runs off, so the girls follow, leading them to become separated. Endorsi runs into the bull, which is now stronger, trapping her in its tentacles, leaving her nearly unconscious. Anak, on the other hand, runs into Lo Po Ren, who shows her the necklace she gave to her mother before she was killed, making her angry. Yet with all of her anger, she is still no match to the experienced Rancor as he stabs her in the torso and starts mocking her. Ren is now controlling the bull, and it brings a captured Endorsi to him, who is ordered by Ren to kill Anak, the imposter princess. Meanwhile, Hats, Rock, and Pericule are keeping an eye on the goblins. Kun instructs them to wait before moving in, but there are more of them than expected. As one of the goblins prepares to attack Hats, Pericule reflexively skewers it with his spear, prompting the rest of the goblins to attack. After initially running away from the goblins, Rack turns around to attack the goblins, joined by others from the team. Meanwhile, War follows Kun's orders and seals several underground tunnels, leading the striped ground pigs to the goblins. The two enemies fight each other, allowing Bomb and Rachel safe passage. Underground Anak is nearly defeated by Lo Po Ren, but Endorsi chooses to fight alongside her. Together, they are still not powerful enough to defeat the pervy sheepman. But as they fight, Princess Yuri arrives along with Shibisu, who showed her the way. Yuri notices the blade she loaned to Bomb on the ground. Annoyed by the situation, Hansung orders the guy to step down, but he gets bricked up by her stare. Unable to control himself, Ren unleashes his snakes on the princess, who to everyone's shock is still standing tall and unfazed as she cuts them all, leaving a trail of blood on the ground. Then she pulled an Itachi and flicked his head, sending the guy through a wall. On the outside, Kun meets his half-brother, who shuts the cams in the Rancor's room and taunts him for being exiled and leaving his beloved Maria. He even meets with the director, and from their initial talk, he senses something fishy in the situation, so he calls Yuri and tells her not to get more involved before her bodyguard comes flying to finish the job instead, while the princess collects the swords. As Ren dies, he laughs, admitting that during the fight he sent the bull to kill Bomb and Rachel. The bull arrives underwater to kill them and gets several good hits before Bomb uses his special Shinsu to defeat the bull. As they rise upward, about to complete the test successfully, Rachel with her snake eyes stands up and pushes Bomb over the edge. Yep, most of you already know about the betrayal from Top List way back then, but what you didn't know is the reason behind it. Some of Rachel's backstory is revealed. She believed the tower was calling for her, but when she arrived, the rabbit told her that the tower did not call her at all and that she is too weak to enter. Desperate to become special, she begs for any kind of chance, and she watches as Bomb arrives and is able to defeat the first test. She is jealous of Bomb being the star and wants the main character of her own story. Hedden gives her a special test, telling her that she will be allowed to climb if she kills Bomb with her own two hands. She demands a special weapon, since Bomb was given an amazing weapon in front of her, which was the Jahad Princess sword. Hedin gives her a bodyguard that will die in her place once, allowing her to essentially have 2 lives. She makes her way through the tower knowing that she must kill Bomb but unable to bring herself to do it. She becomes more and more jealous, urging him to stay away from her in her mind. She is told that if she waits long enough and follows the signs given, she'll be given a chance to kill him. So she allows herself to be taken by Ho and uses the bodyguard to die in return. She waits until Bomb is injured, then pushes him into the Shinsu Lake to kill him. When the others find her alone, they ask where Bomb is, and she says the bull came and then passes out. Everyone assumes Bomb is defeated and decides that, as a favor to him, they will help Rachel reach the top. Rachel, resting in her room after the trial, laughs wildly, then covers her face, conflicted over what she's done but still determined to reach the top. After everyone leaves for the next level, Bomb wakes next to the baddie from the crown test. He remembers Rachel pushing him. She tells him you will find the answers you're looking for at the top of the tower. However, to the chick's surprise, Bomb says that he will climb the tower not to find answers, but to figure out his own answers and resolves. Yuri Jihad returns to the palace and is greeted with the utmost respect, but she doesn't like the overblown courtesy. She asks where her sister currently is, and she's informed that Repalista is currently with a guest, but just then, Masheni comes outside and sarcastically congratulates her on recovering Green April. She says their father is greatly pleased with her, but then she tells Yuri that she should relinquish 1 since 2 is too much for a child like her to handle. Yuri counters, saying Masheni is getting pretty old, so she might as well hand over Yellow May before dementia sets in. And after that, she heads inside. Yuri goes to meet Gladmary and she congratulates Yuri on acquiring Green April as well, but Yuri has gotten sick of everyone congratulating her for it. Gladmary thinks the congratulations are warranted since Garam was the last person to possess 2 of the 13-month series, and since Yuri already has 2, she might as well start collecting the others. However, Yuri says she's not interested in that sort of thing. Gladmary asks why Yuri took the time to come here, so Yuri gets straight to the point and tells her that she wants her help finding someone. Gladmary assumes Yuri is referring to Bomb, so she tells her that Bomb is guaranteed to be dead by now, yet Yuri still holds hope that he's alive somehow since she knows Bomb wouldn't let it end so easily. Since Yuri is being so insistent, Gladmary agrees to look for Bomb, but in return, she wants Yuri to help her acquire a certain item. Yuri agrees to the terms, so Gladmary begins using every resource at her disposal to begin searching. On the 20th floor, regulars who have already been permitted to enter the tower are screened once again. So unless you pass the test and achieve E rank, you can't climb any higher. However, due to the difficulty of the exam and the massive fee, it's just become a garbage dump for people who have given up on climbing the tower, and it's full of monsters who feed on the failed dreams of those losers. As he is walking, a girl bumps into Wangnan and falls down, so he extends his hand to help her up before he proceeds to the exam. The E rank exams are seen as the final chance for hopefuls to climb the tower, so Wangnan is ready to become the king of this tower. However, as soon as he says this, he gets knocked out by a red flame, and he wakes up to find that he, as well as all the other contestants, were defeated by the girl in blue. He returns home disappointed and starts complaining to himself while he's in the bath, but then a man walks up to the bath and tells Wangnan that it's time to pay back the money he owes him. Wangnan tries to laugh it off and says he will pay him back immediately, but then he grabs a bomb and throws it at the man before attempting to jump out the window and escape. However, before he can make it out, the guy grabs him and pulls Wangnan back into the bath and holds his head underwater. Wangnan had tried changing his phone number and moving away so that he wouldn't have to pay back the loan he took. But much like the IRS, Loan Shark always gets his money. Wangnan borrowed a lot of money to pay for the exam fees, and even if he worked for 100 years, he still wouldn't have enough money to pay Loan Shark back. But he says he will do anything to pay the money back, so Loan Shark agrees to give him one last chance. But in exchange, he wants Wangnan to sign a document. Wangnan looks over the document, and to his horror, it basically says he is signing over the rights for Loan Shark to harvest all his organs. Loan Shark doesn't like the term organ harvesting and says it's more of an involuntary weight loss program. But if Wangnan wants to keep his organs, then all he needs to do is pass the next exam so that he can pay back the loan. As Loan Shark is leaving, Wangnan's food order arrives, and Loan Shark generously offers to pay for it. After all, he's going to get paid back either with money or with Wangnan's body. The delivery girl happens to be the girl that Wangnan bumped into before the exam, so as he is eating his ramen order, she sits and talks with him about the E-rank exams. She has taken the exam a couple of times, but she hasn't managed to pass it yet, leaving her buried in debt from all the exam fees. Wangnan says he was confident that he would pass the last exam he took, but some naturally gifted girl was part of his test group, so he stood no chance. But as long as he's alive and still has his organs, he won't give up on passing. The girl says she'll be rooting for him and even gives him a coupon for his next bowl of ramen as an early celebration gift, so after he passes his exam, she wants him to order another bowl of ramen so they can chat again. The next day, Wangnan returns to take the exam, and this time is going to be a 30-minute survival game. The rules say that one person will enter the room every 3 minutes, and those who last for the full 30 minutes will be allowed to move on to the next test. However, there are no rules against eliminating other test takers, but it also isn't required. Wangnan knows this isn't going to be easy, so he prepares himself for an all-out brawl as his door is about to open. However, as he walks into the test area, he is shocked to see a clearly overpowered guy who looks a lot like Bomb standing among a bunch of unconscious bodies. The people this guy knocked out all get disqualified, and Wangnan realizes this is bad news, since if he fails this exam, then he's going to lose all his organs. He knows he can't win against this guy, so he thinks quickly and starts telling Bomb that there's no point in fighting each other since they can both pass if they just wait for 30 minutes. He even offers to work together with the guy while panicking inside, but Bomb just ignores him and sits down. Wangnan can't believe his advice actually worked, but since the guy isn't going to beat him up, he takes a seat next to him and waits for the next person to arrive. As the timer goes off for the next candidate to enter, Wangnan considers surprise attacking this guy to thin out the competition. However, when he sees that the man is huge, he gives his advice again, and it surprisingly works again. The next test taker is a little girl, and after that is a woman who's friends with the little girl, and the big guy is already simping for her. They all agree to avoid senseless conflicts and just chill until the timer runs out. However, Wangnan doesn't think it's right for the little girl to be so close to her friend in a test like this, so he warns the little girl to take this seriously, otherwise she'll be abandoned once she becomes useless. He makes a valid point, but he didn't realize that the girl had actually been abandoned by her parents for being weak, so she starts crying her eyes out, and that makes the woman, and by extension, the big guy, angry at Wangnan. Wangnan didn't mean to make the girl cry, but he stands by his words and doesn't apologize for them. Just then, the last test taker arrives, and he can immediately tell that the others decided to just wait out the timer, and he's all for it. However, he wants no women or children on his team for the next test, so he tells them to leave peacefully, or he will make them leave in pieces. The silver-haired guy says he will put it up to a vote, so he asks everyone who thinks they should get rid of the hindrances should raise their hand. Wangnan raises his hand, but he thinks they should get rid of silver-hair guy since he feels bad for the girls, and Silver is probably a scumbag anyway. Unfortunately, all the bickering has annoyed Bomb to the point that he decides to just eliminate everyone else. Bomb unleashes his power, and everyone is shocked to find out that he's a wave controller, and even more so when the woman recognizes the design on his clothes and tells them that he's a member of FUG. FUG is a group that opposes jihad, and they are the largest crime syndicate to ever exist, so everyone knows for sure that Bomb must be insanely powerful. They have no chance of winning if they don't work together, so Big Guy agrees to work together with Silver and hold Bomb in place while Silver fires a shot to take him out. Big Guy runs in and attacks Bomb, and once he counterattacks, Big Guy uses his shield to stop and hold him in place. This gives Silver the perfect chance to shoot him, but before the blast can land, Bomb breaks free from Big Guy and counters Silver's blast before sending Big Guy flying. Wangnan realizes they don't stand a chance against him, but there are only 30 more seconds before the exam ends, so they just need to avoid getting knocked out before then. They split up and run in different directions, but Bomb catches up to Wangnan first. However, Wangnan refuses to let himself get eliminated because he has to climb the tower no matter what. These words send Bomb into a flashback, and this is enough of a distraction for Wangnan to hit him with some bombs, and the bombs actually manage to do a decent amount of damage for some reason. Wangnan throws some more bombs, but Bomb shields and heals himself before going after Wangnan again. However, before he can eliminate him, the timer runs out, so all participants are ordered to stop fighting. Bomb ceases his attack and heads to the elevator to move up, while all the others stay back and wait for the next one since they don't want to be anywhere near him. Once they get to the next floor, they are all instructed to wait until the rest of the regulars arrive, meaning they are the first ones to make it up here. Wangnan suggests they try attacking up on the people who show up one by one, but the woman tells him that bad idea because the next person could end up being as strong as Bomb. While they wait, Meising pulls out her lunchbox and offers everyone some candy bars she brought except Silver, who gets nothing, even though she has plenty. She even goes over to Bomb and gives him one, and while he's hesitant to accept the gift, Bomb takes the bar, although he doesn't eat it since he's not ready for friends again after what happened last time. The next set of regulars arrive, and Wangnan is pleasantly surprised to find that the delivery girl from earlier is here as well. He asks her if she quit her job to take the test again, and she says she did. He is glad to see her, but he can't say the same for the next person who shows up since it's the girl who burnt him in the last test. He is pissed that she had to show up again since she's a member of the Yun family. And it's not just her either, since now that he's looking around, there are a lot of powerful people here that he recognizes, and to his horror, the loan shark is here as well. Kim Lurker goes over to Wang Nan and chats as if he didn't threaten to steal his organs a few hours ago, but while he's got Wang Nan's attention, he tells a little about the boy over there. He is the son of the president of the company Lurker works for, and he managed to make it to the 20th floor solely off bribery. It was a whole scandal, but long story short, through the power of bribery, Prince was able to select people to take the test with him. And they are all insanely powerful, especially the guy, Rob Devil, he paid to come with him, and the girl, Yua, who Prince has been harassing this whole time as she has been dubbed the flamethrower of the Yun family after burning everybody in the previous exam, but she ultimately ended up failing the rest of the exam, so she's here again. All this information is great and all, but Wang Nan has no idea why Lurker is telling him all this, so Lurker says that he tells him this to let Wang Nan know that he will fail the exam. The prince already stated his intentions to wipe out all the other regulars here, whether it's necessary or not, so Wang Nan is inevitably going to lose. Just then, the proctor for the second part of the test shows up and introduces himself as Love. He informs them of the second test and says they need to use this device to measure their physical strength. Once a candidate enhances their body with Shinsu and touches the orb, their score and rank will be displayed on the big screen, and they will be using these scores to select the 8 people who will be advancing to the next phase of the test. Wang Nan is freaking out since this is just a test of power and he doesn't have insane amounts of Shinsu. As the test begins, Wang Nan is the first person to be evaluated, so he gives it his best shot, but in the end, he ends up in 10th place. While the other regulars are getting their strength measured, Prince gets bored, so he decides to make a bet and says that anyone who ranks first in the strength test will get to keep Yua as a slave. Yuma protests because she doesn't think it's fair for him to do whatever he wants with her, just because she borrowed money from him, but Prince doesn't care. Although to make it fair, he tells her that if she manages to get first place, then he will grant her freedom. Horian doesn't appreciate Prince being so callous about someone's freedom, so he goes up for his turn, and as he punches the orb, he scores over 6,000 points, which is high enough to put him in first place. However, right after him, Rob Devil does his test, and he scores over 11,000, putting him in first place instead. Prince states that Yua will still belong to him if Rob wins, since Rob is also his servant, but Yua is pretty confident that she can claim the top spot for herself. Her turn comes up next, so Yua goes over to the orb and winds up for a punch, but she slips in the process and accidentally headbutts it instead. However, even with her blender, she still manages to score 22,000 points, putting her at the top of the leaderboard. She believes she has successfully earned her freedom, so she walks away from Prince and tells him he will never succeed in the tower if all he has is borrowed power. But to her shock, as Prince's turn comes up, he scores an outstanding 25,000 points, and since he is certain there is no one else here that's as strong as him, he tells Yua that she still belongs to him. Wang Nan is in a panic since if this many people have more power than him, then he has no chance of actually passing, and that means he's going to end up in an ice bath once he fails. However, Silver finds it funny that Prince is so sure he's the strongest, and while Prince feels offended, Silver knows for a fact that the strongest person here is Bomb. As Bomb steps up to do his test, a massive wave of energy hits the orb and everyone is shocked, even the proctor for the exam who recognizes that he is a member of FUG, but his job right now is to be an exam proctor, so since Bomb scored over 100,000 points, he is declared as the winner and is told to select 7 people to proceed to the next exam with him. Wang Nan hears this, and even if he doesn't have the power to earn victory for himself, he can still grovel and beg his way to victory. A bunch of the others begin begging Bomb to pick them as well, but then Yua tells them to stop their shameless display since people should only be picked based on their abilities. And as such, that means Bomb should pick her since she's one of the strongest people here. Just then, Bomb speaks up and says he doesn't want to choose anyone to be his teammate since he will be handling the next test on his own. The proctor tries to explain that the rules require Bomb to choose teammates, but Bomb says no one here is worthy of being his teammate. He's a member of FUG as a Slayer candidate under the name Viol, so his mission is to ultimately kill Jahad and his family, and that makes everyone here his enemy. The proctor says he understands Bomb's reason for wanting to go on alone, but he has a duty to make sure the rules are followed, which is why he offers to play a game with Bomb. If he wins, he will be allowed to continue alone if he wants. However, if he loses, he has to follow the rules and select some teammates. Love then tells everyone to go back to their rooms and take a break while he sets up the game, so Wang Nan lies on the bed, relieved that he hasn't failed the exam yet. While he's there, he wonders if Bomb really intends to kill Jahad, but just then, Nia comes into the room and it looks like they were assigned to share a room, so Wang Nan's mood is a lot better now. Nia is glad to see him as well. The two agree to go take a bath together. Meanwhile, Yua is in the other room complaining to herself over the fact that her advancement relies solely on Bomb, when all of a sudden, Bomb walks into the room since he was assigned to share it with her. The atmosphere gets really awkward as Yua doesn't like having to share a room with a FUG member. She seems to think Bomb is a girl for some reason, and while she would be deemed a disgrace if she was caught working with a FUG member, she would be an even bigger disgrace if she failed the exam again. So she decides to try and warm up to Bomb. She gets his attention and asks if he would like to have a bath with her, and Bomb agrees, so they both walk to the baths together. However, Yua is left shocked when Bomb enters the men's changing room. Meanwhile, Love is meeting with the director to discuss their next course of action, and while the director thinks they should remain impartial, Love is adamant that all members of FUG must be destroyed. Back at his room, Wang Nan is bored out of his mind since there's nothing to do. He wishes there were at least a TV or something in the room, but since it's entertainment he's after, Nia offers to play a game with him. Meanwhile, Love is busy discussing his intentions with the chief director, and the chief knows how Love feels about FUG, but he is here as a test proctor, so he can't attack the test taker over a personal grudge he's harboring. Some rules need to be followed, so the chief orders Love not to harm Bomb, but Love just says no to the order, so the chief starts pulling his cheeks until he agrees to leave Bomb alone. Meanwhile, Bomb has just returned from his bath, but as he enters, Yua confronts him and asks if he plans on sleeping here tonight. Bomb obviously didn't intend to sleep out in the hallway, but now that Yua knows he's a guy, she warns him that he won't get anything from her tonight, so he shouldn't bother trying. She thinks he's going to blackmail her into sleeping with him, but Bomb tells her he doesn't have even the slightest bit of interest in her body, so he just walks over to his bed and sits down. And somehow, this makes Yua even more angry than before, so she swears she will kill Bomb in the next round no matter what. While that was going on, Wang Nan has invited the rest of the group to play cards with him, but as they are heading back to the room, they see Meising talking to one of the other test takers, and she literally accepts candy from a stranger, probably because her parents ditched her before that lesson came up. Silver notices something off about the woman, so he goes up to Meising and asks where Gozing went. Meising says Gozing went to buy them some drinks, and as soon as she left, this woman showed up to talk to her. The woman tries to make herself sound harmless by saying she works at an orphanage, so she wants to reduce the number of unhappy children in the world, but Silver has already tagged her as a creep, so he tells her to get her hands off Meising and leave before things get violent. The woman gets the message and takes off running, after which Silver tells Meising that she shouldn't accept candy from strangers as it could be high-purity drugs. Wang Nan finds it funny that Silver is trying to be a good guy now when he was the first one to try and get rid of Meising, but Silver just tells him to shut up. Unfortunately, this whole thing made Meising start crying, but it wasn't Wang Nan's fault this time, so he tries to cheer her up by inviting her to play cards with him. Everyone is having fun playing the game, but after a while, Horiang says he needs to go to bed, so Gosing asks Meising to get ready for bed as well. After going to bed, Wang Nan asks Nia to do whatever it takes till they pass this exam together and celebrate like they promised earlier. Nia agrees, but just as Wang Nan was about to go to sleep, a deafening alarm sounds in the room, and it seems to be coming from the room remote. It's displaying a message from Love, so Wang Nan is scared to answer it, but eventually the alarm stops ringing and Love announces that the special test will now be commencing. The game Love came up with is called Trustworthy Room, and it requires a team of at least 7 to secure 6 different rooms. He also says they will need to use the remotes to select a leader and a gatekeeper for each room. A leader is allowed to recruit fellows to his side or to capture other rooms, and any rooms captured by the leader's fellows will be transferred to the leader. A gatekeeper can only own one room, and rooms can only be stolen from a gatekeeper. But once a room is stolen, the leader can assign owners to one of his fellows and appoint a new gatekeeper. For a leader to recruit a fellow, they need to insert the leader's connector and slot one of the remote and the fellow's connector in slot 2, after which you need to press the blue button. It's the same process as transferring ownership of a room, but the red button will be pressed in this case. The remotes can also be used to lock and unlock rooms, but participants are not allowed to leave the room with their remotes, and one teammate must be in the room at all times. In addition, the final room captured must be room 608, which happens to be Bomb and Yua's room. The first team to acquire 6 rooms will win the game, but Bomb has a separate set of rules that he has to play by. Love says that Bomb's connector is currently with him, and both Bomb and Yua's connectors have the leader and gatekeeper roles, so the conditions for Bomb's victory are as follows. He needs to steal the room from Yua and collect his connector from Love, but alternatively, he wins if there are fewer than 7 participants by the end of the game due to conflicts. With the rules out of the way, Love says the test has begun, so the first thing Gosing does is explain to Meising that the game is about gathering as many rooms and allies as possible before Bomb gets here, so she intends to go out and do that, while Meising is in charge of watching the room. But before she goes, she makes it very clear that My Sing is not allowed to open the door for anyone but her, no matter who it is. At the same time, Prince is planning his next move with Rob, and since he likes to go straight to the point, he decides that it would be better to attack Bom directly. That means he will be leaving the room for now, but before he goes, he wants to hide the remote, so he asks Rob to close his eyes until he is done. Once he is done, he jokes that this way, even if Rob ends up losing to someone, they won't be able to get the remote from him, although he actually trusts Rob's ability to defend the room while he takes care of Bom. And speaking of Bom, he is currently asking Yewon to hand over the remote and let him leave the room, but she refuses and blames him for this whole mess. Everyone could have been happy if he just chose some teammates, but he had to be selfish about it and go against the rules. Bom retorts that there is no way for everyone to be happy in a situation like that since someone is inevitably going to lose or be unhappy. He just wants to get the remote from her and leave, but Yewon is prepared to stop him by force with all the power she has. Even the rankers of her family aren't able to take her down easily when she was all out, so she's confident she can stop Bom, but he just tells her to stop and her body freezes in place. Bom then grabs the remote from her hand and tells her she's going to fail this test, but just as he opens the door to leave, Prince shows up to challenge him, but Bom doesn't have time to waste on him, so he freezes Prince mid-sentence and walks past him. Over in My Sing's room, the creepy lady from before shows up at the door and asking My Sing to let her in, which can't be a good idea. At the same time, Silver and Hwoarang are trying to decide what to do moving forward, and Silver tells Hwoarang that he can go meet up with My Sing and Go-Sing while he watches the room. He assures Hwoarang that he won't lose to anyone while he's gone, but Hwoarang tells Silver that he will guard the room instead. He doesn't know what Silver has gone through before arriving here, but what he does know is that My Sing probably reminds him of his daughter, which is why he is so protective of her. Silver denies it and says there's no way he would ever be dumb enough to risk his life for a kid, but a couple minutes later he's out in the halls risking his life for the kid. He knocks on the door and yells for My Sing to open the door for him, but he doesn't get a response, so he becomes worried that someone might have gotten to My Sing already. He begins pounding on the door even harder as he has flashbacks to a time he failed to protect his daughter, and he can't believe he let the same thing happen again. But just as he is about to break down the door, he hears My Sing's voice from the other side. He's relieved that she is okay, but he yells at her for not responding sooner and making him worry. My Sing says she was too scared to respond, so Silver calms down and just tells her to let him in. Unfortunately, My Sing says she can't do that since Go-Sing specifically told her not to open the door for anyone, no matter who it is, which is why she didn't open the door for the lady who came here either. Silver tries to explain that he isn't as bad as the old lady, but My Sing still thinks he's a jerk since he tried to get her to drop out of the exam, is always yelling, and looks really mean. Silver is pissed that she thinks he's bad, but at the very least he knows My Sing is safe in the room, so he can leave her alone for now. However, as he is about to leave, My Sing begs Silver not to go since she's scared to be alone. He tells her to open the door for him then if she doesn't want to be alone, but My Sing still doesn't want to open this since Go-Sing told her not to, so Silver agrees to sit outside the door to keep her company. He honestly doesn't understand why My Sing chose to climb the tower when she's such a scaredy cat, but she's just doing it because her parents once told her that climbing the tower would make her a respectable person. She asks Silver what his reason for climbing the tower is, and all he can say is that he wants to become a respectable person as well. Just then, Silver notices someone approaching, and it's none other than the old lady. He figures she would show up here again, so he pulls out his weapon to be ready, but the lady says she was actually hoping to team up with him and take out Go-Sing when she gets back, but Silver obviously isn't on board with that idea and fires a shot at her. He knew from the start that this woman had to be a scumbag since no one who actually wants to help unfortunate children would spend so much money on jewelry. The lady realizes Silver isn't going in to team up with her, so she fires a blast at him using her ring, and she's confident Silver must have been hurt to a crisp. But she was completely wrong as Silver emerges from the smoke and stabs her in the hand. But before she could scream out in pain, Silver covers her mouth so she doesn't scare My Sing. Meanwhile, Nia and Wannan have developed a camping strategy and intend to attack the first person who comes through those doors, but that person happens to be Go-Sing, so she asks what they think they're doing. Ignoring that, she tells Wannan that they need to team up before Bong comes after them, so he should give her his connector. Wannan is hesitant to do so, but if he doesn't want to hand his own over, Go-Sing is perfectly fine with giving him hers since she trusts him a lot. She knew she just made it through the first test by luck, so was already planning on giving up on climbing the tower ever again. But when she saw how determined Wannan was to succeed, he inspired her to keep going, so she wants to be able to climb the tower together with him. After Prince regains motion in his body, he walks through the halls and looking for Bom, when all of a sudden he is approached by Lurker, and is told that Rob Devil has been killed somehow. Back to the other team, they group up and return to Meising's room where they find Silver sitting outside the door with the old lady tied up. They all gather inside to team up before Bomb comes after them. But Silver doesn't think they really need to worry about that since Bomb probably went after Love first. They think it would be stupid to willingly fight a Proctor, but it doesn't seem too far-fetched considering how powerful Bomb is. In fact, Gosling had actually seen him in the hallway a little while ago, but he didn't try to kill her. So since Bomb isn't going to be coming after them, they need to focus on gathering more teammates so they can win before he defeats Love. At the same time, Price and Lurker have both gone to check on Rob, and by all indications, the dude's definitely dead. Prince assumes Bomb must be the one who did this, so he swears to get his revenge. And that's when two shady characters show up, saying they know of a way to defeat Bomb. Meanwhile, Bomb is currently confronting Love, and Love asks him one last time if he's willing to just choose some teammates and go on with the exam like normal, but Bomb is still adamant about doing this alone. Love knows all about what usually happens when a FUB member takes the exam, and usually, when the exam starts, they are given a mission: either eliminate a specific regular, to help a regular pass the exam, or to make sure everyone fails the exam. None of those options respect the rules of the tower, so Love sees no reason why he should respect Bomb. He says he will give him a chance though, so if he can catch his pitch even once, then Bomb will be allowed to do as he pleases, but if he fails to catch it all 3 times, then he will be disqualified. Alternatively, Bomb is free to give up any time before that, and if he does, he will be allowed to continue the exam with 7 other regulars. And just to be clear, this isn't a fair game of catch since Love may interfere or try to kill Bomb at any moment of his choosing. He asks if Bomb still wants to take part in the game, and Bomb agrees, so he makes the first throw, and to his surprise, Bomb is able to freeze the connectors in place and nearly grabs it, so Love has to interfere to stop him. He admits that he underestimated Bomb a little, but now that he knows Bomb can stop the connector, all he has to do is prevent him from grabbing it. However, as the next throw is about to be made, Bomb goes right after Love to stop him from interfering, but Love dodges and counters Bomb with a straight cutter that even he can't block, so Bomb is sent flying into the wall, and Love mocks him for letting himself get overconfident. This was the end of episode 3. Subscribe to not miss the next part.